Review P02. PLC hardware block diagram. Central Processing Unit, CPU. Bus, data bus. Memory. User program. Data. Power supply. Programmable device. I/O expand port interface. (16 input, 32 input, 8 output unit, etc.) COM port interface. Communication to PC, HMI, printer, scanner and RS-485 devices, etc. Input sensing devices. Analog sensing devices. Digital input and analog input interface. Output interface. Output load devices. Analog control devices. PLC hardware structure diagram. Power supply. CPU. Address bus. System ROM. Data RAM. Input interface. Latch. Output interface. Diagram. Used to run user programs, supervise the input-output interface and communication status, diagnose the power supply, the working status of the PLC internal circuit and the syntax error in the programming process. Call the executive. Composed are includes an of permanently stored program that direct all system activities, also contains the routines that implement the PLC's instruction set, specific control functions as logic, sequencing, timing, counting and arithmetic. Data table store any data associated with the user's control program, such as system input and output status data, and any store constants, variables or preset values. The data memory is where data is monitored, manipulated and changed for control purposes. Program area is where the programmed instructions entered by the user are stored as an application control program. COM port, COM1, program port to PC online programming download and monitoring, COM2 and 3, communication requirements protocol or network used, devices to communicate with, HMI, other PLCs etc. System physical connection, between the equipment and the PLC quantity, type and location of I/O number of inputs and output, points AC or DC voltage analog or discrete, concentrated or spread out, distributed. Determine what inputs and outputs are needed, filling the rack with the appropriate cards and then addressing them correctly in the CPU's program. Supervisory program flowchart. Mode switch and error LED. PLC has mode switch for select. Run mode, run LED light up, execute the program and operates the process. Stop the program, download program from a PC or programmer. Error LED, when supervisory detect error, store the error status to flag register for troubleshooting. After the PLC starts, the monitoring program starts to work from address 0000H. First, prohibit the interruption caused by the working voltage failure and turn off the lithium battery voltage indicator, and then enter the boot processing program, and the initialization program, clear all various flag registers, and stop the all timer and counter. Test working voltage. After that, enter to repeatedly test all working voltages. Because the interrupt is prohibited, once one of the voltages is abnormal, it will not jump into the interrupt service subroutine, and the subroutine will continue to be executed in this segment and cause error. Special test that all working voltages are completely normal. Pass of this test, so can continue the subsequent procedure. Sum test correct. The sum check is to sum the contents of the program memory, and compare the sum result with the sum result at the end of programming. If the result is consistent, it means that the user program stored in the RAM area is correct. Also a method of verifying the I/O bus. The PLC grammar check includes content, whether there is any logical error in the component number of the input user program and the grammar of the program. For example, there is an undefined component number, the command and the component number are not properly matched, etc. (5) Programming mode. When the programmer is plugged into the PLC unit, to enter the programming state, input program, operating switch set to stop. When running the program or monitoring the status, operating switch set to run. Scan all input terminals, and store the state of each input terminal in the corresponding input image register of the memory. Since then, the input image register is isolated from the outside world. No matter how the state of the input point changes, the content of the input image register remains unchanged. The new content will not be written until the input refresh phase of the next scan cycle. (7) Program execution. In the program execution stage, the CPU divides and executes the user program one by one in the order of left and right, up and down. In this process, the CPU reads the current state of each relay from the input image register, and the component image register performs logical operations according to the logical relationship given by the user program, and writes the result of the operation into the component image register. After all instructions are executed, in the output refresh stage, the component image register data, all the output relay status, latch into the corresponding output register. Through a certain method type output, drive external load. Downtime processing. During this process, the operation of the program is mainly stopped. Turn off the run LED, protect the contents of the memory, turn off all output, and finally return to the program for judging the working mode. In response to the user's choice of working methods. PLC Self-Inspection Supervisory Monitoring System. And the experience of operating in the industrial field, how to avoid or reduce the sudden failure of PLC parts, which affects the loss of control of the machine, and causes damage to the human body. The PLC Self-Inspection Supervisory Monitoring System, developed for injury, is not just software programs, including the cooperation of hardware, can produce high magnetic noise in the factory area operation, so as not to make mechanical malfunction. Therefore, it is best to use a branded PLC for mechanical operation. Thanks you're watching. Hope can give you step-by-step animations PLC from basic to advance. If you interesting to learn automation control to help you for your future, please click like and subscribe. Thank you. See you on next. Bye bye.